once I was in the machine and this sensation of burning, my whole body was burning. I'm glad I did listen and insist that I get out of the machine, because the lab tech, she kept saying to me, well, you only have 2 minutes left. And I go, no, I don't. I need to get out. And then I remember getting out and she yelled at me, you only had 1 minute left. And then the next thing I heard was, call 911. And the next thing I know, I'm in the emergency room. Everyone, I want to introduce you to a really good friend and person that has done a lot of work for Gail and I around our video presentations. And his name is Alex Vachon, and he does video for organizations, for individuals, for coaches. And if you ever need a video or you need some work done, I can't recommend anyone better than Alex. So Alex, thanks for willing to do this with me today. It's something that's part of my recovery process and what happened to me around what I thought would be a routine MRI.
Oh, you're so welcome, Jerome. I want people to hear your story. It's a very important message. So by all means, go ahead and tell us what happened.
So on June 17th, I went in to do a routine MRI for my prostate. And people kept asking me, have I done an MRI before? And I go, yeah, I've done several MRIs. What they did not ask me is if I had done an MRI with a contrast dye called gadolinium in it. And gadolinium is basically a liquid metal they put into your body. I didn't know about the gadolinium. I just thought I was going to do an MRI. I didn't know they were going to put something in my body. Leading up to this, I also had some reservations about just doing the MRI in the first place. It was for my prostate. I had done a physical exam with the urologist. Things checked out pretty well, but he said, no, why don't you just do an MRI just to be sure? I had some hesitancy, and I'll talk about that a little later, but I went and did it, was in the machine. About 35 minutes in, they injected the gadolinium in my body, and things went really bad, really quick. And ultimately, I ended up coding. They had to do CPR, and basically I was dead for 10 minutes, 10, 12 minutes. And I'm just doing this video to encourage people a couple of things. One, really be sure when a doctor recommends something that you really research what they're recommending and you ask questions. None of those things that I didn't do. I didn't ask, what's the MRI? And I wasn't aware that I needed to ask. And again, this is not a criticism of the medical profession. It's really about really getting people aware of your own authority and your own care and what you need to do so that something that happened to me won't happen to you.
And for sure. So I guess the bottom line is whenever a doctor tells you we're going to inject something in your body, go further, inquire about it.
Exactly.
Ask if there are, side effects to, and there always are. So what are the side effects of that product? If you had been informed, you could have been doing your own little verification, a little, research, and see, if it's something you want to move forward with, right?
If I had been informed what it was, the fact, they didn't even have to tell me the name. If they'd have told me that we're putting liquid metal in your body, I would have said, no, thank you. I don't need to do that. And the reason that they justify doing it is that the gadolinium, the contrast, gives the best imagery. So in some ways, it's supposed to help save lives, and I get that. But in other ways, in my case, it almost ended my life because I went into epileptic shock. The numbers are crazy. There's only 1 in 50,000 people that have the reaction that I had. Once I had this happen, I did some research. They could have done a prick test on my finger to see, and it would have told them that I was allergic. No one told me about the gadolinium. And you can go on YouTube and just look up MRI with gadolinium. There's a wealth of knowledge and information on there. I looked it up when I was in the hospital bed for 3 days, and I did research. And if you look at that research, I doubt very much that you will want gadolinium in your body. There's some side effects. There's some unknown things that people don't know. There's some questions about it. And yes, while it saves lives, it also there could be some other side effects. And I don't want to get into the medical side of it, but you can go to YouTube and just look up contrast dyes, and you'll see a wealth of knowledge and information. And I just want to get people to be very assertive about your care, ask questions. And from in my case, my intuition kept saying I didn't want to do this. I said to my wife, I said to Gail, yeah, I don't know if I want to do this MRI. I don't know. And I just didn't listen. Once I was in the machine and this sensation of burning, my whole body was burning. I'm glad I did listen and insist that I get out of the machine, because the lab tech, she kept saying to me, well, you only have 2 minutes left. And I go, no, I don't. I need to get out. And then I remember getting out and she yelled at me, you only had 1 minute left. And then the next thing I heard was, call 911. And the next thing I know, I'm in the emergency room. So there's this period of, I don't know where I was, what happened, but I just really encourage people to really take control over doctors' recommendations. They're doing the best they can, but you can help them by just doing your own research and asking really detailed questions. The medical profession is overwhelmed. I mean, and so I get it, but someone along the line, my urologist, my doctor, the lab tech should have really broken down what gadolinium was to me.
And what if it's not 1 in 50,000? Maybe that's the number you saw. But what if it's not true?
Right.
What if it's much more than that? And also the fact that doctors oftentimes are reluctant to give us details.
Right.
They'll make a face. You ask questions. They'll make you feel like you don't have time, or so. It's like it's your health. And look, you really died. You died. You came back. It's almost a
Right.
miracle.
Right.
Thank God for that. But I mean, like it's a great message here, people. If you care so much, like say about your car and what type of oil you put in your engine,
Yeah.
why don't you just apply that to your body? So that's a
Absolutely.
great message. Yeah.
Absolutely. And Alex, like you said, off the record, one of the nurses that was when I was in the hospital, to your point, she said, this happens more than gets reported. To your point, she said off the record, she said, but she basically said, Mr. Green, this happens a lot more. We get a lot of these cases, right? Different reactions. Not maybe sometimes not as drastic as yours, but people have reactions. You go into anaphylactic shock. I mean, it's crazy. And I coded, interestingly enough, the lab sort of kind of skirted what happened. But when the EMT came with, I saw the different reports. There were two distinctly different reports because they had to tell the EMT what really happened. They couldn't, but in their report, they didn't even report that I was not around for 10 to 12 minutes. But they told the EMT that I wasn't around for 10, 12 minutes. So they were protecting themselves. I just want to encourage you, like, if I hadn't insisted on getting out of the tube, I don't even know if I would be here.
You wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be here talking to us right now. And you still had some bruised ribs, right? And
Yeah, yeah,
some of
cracked
course
rib.
other things.
A day after I was home, I got violently ill, like where I couldn't even move. I was like this, my whole body and Gail was trying to work with me. And luckily, she called our massage therapist, Jane, who's really, she's a great massage therapist here in LA. She's beyond it. She's a healer. Really, that's it. Yeah, she's a healer. And she said to tell Gail, Ron's body reacts really well to peppermint oil. So she said, get some peppermint oil, and rub it on his stomach. And if that hadn't happened, so everything just came out. And Alex, the smell it wasn't that sort of foul smell you get when you vomit. It was all chemical. It smelled like like burnt chemicals. So when I was throwing up, I was
Oh
throwing
my
up chemicals.
gosh.
So these chemicals in my body, and I was just throwing it up. And but I was really appreciative that I could do it. I threw up for about a half an hour on and off, but at least I could move again. And it's funny, the nurse, when she stuck this needle, and I didn't even ask her like what's in that, and I should have. She told me, so well, for 2 days, drink a lot of water. So they know that this is bad. They know that this is not the most greatest stuff. And you can get an MRI for your prostate or anything else without having a contrast put in. Oh, yeah, okay, great. It doesn't give you the best imagery, but if you have a cancer or something wrong with it, it'll show up. And I don't believe you need the contrast to get for that to be seen.
Wow. Yeah. So that's it, folks. That's the message. Always double check. Don't say yes right away. Inquire about what is going to be injected or even ingested. It could be just ingestion too.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know, the pills we take. It's just the same
exactly.
thing, right? Well, Jerome, welcome back to Earth, and I'm so glad you made it. Ultimately, our fate is in our hands, and we have to be responsible for what's happening. You know?
Yeah, and just listen to your intuition. If I would have listened, I would not have done the MRI. On the other hand, by doing it, I can give you this message to you.
Well, if anyone is watching this on YouTube right now and you want to comment below, I'm doing my job here. Please do. We would love to hear from you and get the conversation going about this. I think this is a very important message.
Absolutely. And I want to thank Alex. And again, he's a friend. I consider him a friend. If you get to work with Alex, you'll see what I mean. So remember, Alex and bubble.com. He's great to work with.
Video bubble. All right. Well, enough about me. It's all about you, and I'm glad you survived. We even didn't get into the near-death experience, which I think would be very interesting
Yeah,
to get into, but that may be another video. But for now, I think all the medical aspect is the most important one.
yeah. Let's definitely do another video because that was an interesting experience too, which
Sure.
I'm still processing. So yeah,
Of
we'll
course.
definitely do another video about that. Great.
Okay. Well, stay tuned, people.
Okay.